Hey, everybody, welcome to the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Variety Talk Show series. Hope you guys are doing well. We welcome you to our show. We're coming at you live from Lovety Hall. That's what you guys call it. You call this Lovety Hall, which I think is fantastic. One time I said the show has a lot of light, love, and levity. And you guys said, well, then you are Mr. If you're going to talk Lovety, Jim Masters, then you're Mr. Lovety. This is Lovety Hall. We're your Lovety squad. And our guests are part of the Lovety family. And you know what? I love that. I think that's fantastic. So that's how the show has been operating for 2.5 years thus far, almost 900 episodes, day in and day out, with extraordinary guests coming in from Broadway, Hollywood, television, film, music, stage, culinary arts, inspiration, comedy, sports, and everything in between. And it's so nice to have you here. Been a very, very ultra busy day for me professionally in my professional work in television and radio. We're in the studio all day long, hosting, writing, executive producing television news segments for a television news magazine series I do out of New York, and also multiple radio shows to host today. And of course, with all of that done and said, we even had some dinner, but I didn't have a big dinner. I just had some New England clam chowder, which I chowed down about 10 minutes ago, getting ready for today's show. We've got a really cool and extraordinary guest who's joining us from. Now, you guys, if you've been following my escapades, you know professionally, I was just in Milwaukee, Wisconsin on a television project, multi-day television shoot in beautiful Milwaukee, along Lake Michigan there. And we were there and we were in Waukesha and other parts of Wisconsin. Well, our guest, education advocate and writer and author, Maya Payne Smart, author of Reading for Our Lives. It's a really fascinating show we have for you here, is coming to us on location from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We're going to welcome her. She's got a lot to say. She's excited about her book and all these other cool things that she's doing. Her husband, as well, is also a famous basketball coach. Yes, we'll talk about that as well for the sports fans out there. But she's on a mission. She's also a mom, as well as a writer and author and educator. She's going to tie all that in with our exclusive conversation here on the Jim Masters Show Live. For everybody watching who is a Lovety, hey, gang, we welcome you to the Jim Masters Show Live. All of our Loveties, part of the Lovety family. We see a lot of comments already built up in the JMS Live Lovety chat room. What is that? We've got a chat room that's open and available when the show is live, like right now. And if you'd like to interact with us and with each other during the show, guess what? You can do that. This is one of the rare opportunities, one of the rare broadcasts of its kind here on YouTube, where you get to actually interact with us. A lot of shows, they just talk at you. We talk with you. We bring you into the mix. It's like an old school variety talk show series, Carson and Cavett and some of the greats, with a modern vibe, modern twist of today. So cool to have you here on this very, very busy day. And we've got Halloween coming up too pretty soon, and a lot of cool things happening. Lots of comments building up. Now, if you would like to participate while the show is live, well, we always say like, comment, and subscribe. Even when the show is not live, you can always give us a thumbs up on this episode and all the episodes you like. Give us a like. You can subscribe by hitting the red subscribe button on our YouTube channel. That helps us big time. It truly, truly does. And we appreciate it. And you can leave a comment on the YouTube channel underneath every episode. That helps us too, because the YouTube algorithm sees that and it blows this episode out of the water into millions and millions of more homes around the world, even though we have an international audience, which we love, including all of you. But if you would like to comment right now in the JMS Lovety chat room, just simply hit that red button, subscribe on our YouTube channel, which is Jim Masters TV, where we house all of the episodes, hundreds of episodes of the JMS Live, the Jim Masters Show Live series. So we welcome you. We say, hope you're having a good day. And if you're not, stick with us. We're going to entertain, inform, educate, and put some smiles on your face, as well as Maya joins us here, author, writer, education advocate, and a very, very proud mom. You know, she penned this fabulous book. She's very big on literacy, especially with children. And this book that you see on the screen, Reading for Our Lives, that she penned, is a literacy action plan from birth to age 6. She's extraordinary at what she does. She loves doing what she does. And again, she's been doing this for quite some time. She's a real expert at it as well. So we're going to welcome her from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, USA in just a moment. But first, I want to tell you a little bit about journalist and educator, literary advocate, and mom, Maya Payne Smart. She offers parents simple and effective and fun early literacy boosting strategies in her book, Reading for Our Lives, a literacy action plan from birth to six. Although, even beyond six, we can all use a brush up course from time to time. Matter of fact, in America, I know we have an international audience, but here in the United States, big numbers, 43 million Americans ages 16 to 65 can't read well enough to complete a job application. Now, if that's the deal here in America, you can imagine what it's like in third world countries and elsewhere. They can't follow a bus schedule, understand a rental agreement, or even parse out a ballot, you know, to have the opportunity, the sacred opportunity to vote. And if education and societal trends continue, their ranks will only keep growing, which is a sad statistic. In the book, Reading for Our Lives, a literacy action plan from birth to six, which was just published in August, so it's hot off the presses, educator and literary advocate Maya Payne Smart gets to the roots of the problem. She arms parents with the knowledge and the tools to give their child, and maybe that's you, or even a grandchild, or if you're a guardian for a child, an early advantage in reading, which of course then gives you an advantage, as we all know, in life. Drawing on the latest research into literacy and language development, Maya refutes the widespread belief that reading aloud to our kids is simply enough. You know, it's nice to read stories, bedtime stories. We've all had it done by our parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles through the years. We love doing it for kids, but that's not enough because you're doing the reading, they're doing the listening, but they need to do the reading as well. So she believes that reading aloud to our kids, well, it not necessarily is enough to ensure reading readiness. It's a myth she's embraced until her daughter, Zora, started school, and she realized that our current approach to literacy offers too little too late. By the time children start kindergarten, they're already playing catch up. The brain architecture for reading develops rapidly during infancy, and early language experiences are critical, according to Maya, and this is all factual, to actually building it. That means parents work as children's first reading teachers, and that begins from day one with nurturing, supportive, back and forth verbal engagement. Now, maybe your kids are grown and this topic isn't necessarily something for you exactly, but I'm sure you have kids in your life. I'm sure there's grandkids, nephews, nieces, other kids that maybe you care for that you just are concerned about. Along with the valuable research nuggets, insights into the history and fundamentals of literacy, development, and relatable personal stories, Reading for Our Lives is filled with actionable strategies and engaging reading activities for parents. We'll talk more about what you'll learn in it and so much more as she explores the role of technology in helping or hurting reading development and also the impact of the pandemic. We whisper it here on the show, and how that's affected learning as well across not only the United States and Canada, but globally. In addition, she calls attention to inequities in reading development. Low income families and kids of color have higher rates of low literacy, and both, learning about what we can do about it and why it affects all Americans. The literacy guide that Maya, she wished she had when she was a daughter, an infant, Reading for Our Lives, is essential. Reading for not only all parents, but everyone with a stake in the future. She wishes this when she had her daughter and was an infant. This is really fascinating stuff. And we're so excited to have an opportunity to sort of break this out, sort of unpack this conversation, and to have her here, as our special guest. You always learn something special on the Jim Masters Show Live series. So put your hands together. As I mentioned, she's a writer, she's an educator, she's a mom devoted to helping parents nurture, teach, and advocate for their children on the road to reading. My very special guest joining us again from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. She has traveled all across the United States. Now in Milwaukee, we appreciate Maya joining us here live from Milwaukee exclusively on the show. And we welcome everybody. Keep those comments coming, folks. If you'd like to comment, I see lots of comments built up in the JMS Lovely chat room. Subscribe to the channel and you can comment. If you are moved by this episode, feel free to do a super chat, super emoji, super sticker, as well as support us. Maya from Milwaukee, welcome to the Jim Masters Show Live. It's so great to have you here.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to this chat.
Me as well. You've been very, very busy, and I really love that you've focused and made such a central focus of your experience and of your life and of your family, literacy and reading and starting early, because so many of us, if not all of us, have been read to by our parents, bedtime stories, other cool stories over the years. That's really wonderful. That's really cool. It's nice. It's loving. It's very, fantastic as far as developing the relationship with child and parent or grandparent. But that doesn't necessarily answer the question or solve the issues of really the child learning to read, right? Tell us about that myth and why you've made this whole experience such an important part of your life and a real passion for you, Maya, as we welcome you to the show.
Thank you so much. Yes, reading just has always been a huge part of my life. I was named after Maya Angelou, an author, named my daughter
You
Zora.
were. Wait, hold up, rewind. I didn't know that you were. Wow.
Yes.
I'm named after my father and grandfather and 5 others that go back to England, but that is wonderful. Fantastic. I love that.
And then we named our daughter Zora after the novelist Zora Neale Hurston and folklorist. So books and reading were just personally my thing that I love more than anything in terms of hobbies and interests. So I wanted to pass on.
I mean, were you always reading when you were a kid?
Yes, only child, introverted, spent hours just
so you created
reading.
Your own world.
Yes, absolutely. And devoured so many series of books as a kid, like just couldn't get enough. Wanted the next in the series and the next and the next.
What were some of your favorites as a kid?
I read all kinds of series. I read, Babysitter's Club and Fear Street, and Lurleen McDaniel had a series of books about children with terminal illnesses, oddly. So I read
early on. Wow.
Whatever was available in my local bookstore and at the library. So definitely wanted to pass that on to my daughter, and realized after I had her that I didn't have any knowledge really of reading instruction or knowledge of how reading develops. My knowledge sort of started and stopped with this idea that, surround kids with books, read to them every day, take them to the library. But I didn't know anything about the mechanics of reading development, when it started, what specifically you should read, and what else you could do as a parent to get your child ready for school. So this book started with just that seed of curiosity.
Well, before even the book, was this something that was a mission for you even prior to the book? Were you always sort of trying to get the word out? Were you going to libraries? I mean, were you doing different things to try to sort of get the ball rolling? And then all of that led to your saying, let me stop, let me take a breath, time to write that book.
So initially it was just reading was a personal interest. But after I had my daughter, I had that seed of curiosity about the process, how reading develops. But I also read a lot of news articles that described vast disparities in reading achievement outcomes between Black children and white children, and lower socioeconomic children and higher socioeconomic children. So that was part of what prompted it to change from a personal interest to, a mission to support my own daughter, and then a broader mission to help all parents support all children. Because reading is so important. We, as a society, shouldn't tolerate having such low levels of literacy and millions of people cut off from thriving in school and careers.
And so much of the world has changed too. The encyclopedia door-to-door salesperson is gone. And I used to love the encyclopedias and the big geography books and the atlases, just looking at them, perusing them, taking those encyclopedias off the shelf and just looking through them and reading them over and over. And the magazines we used to get, all the different kinds of magazines we get. I used to love all of that as a kid, even the magazines my parents would get. My father always still loves to read the newspaper, especially the big Sunday newspaper, cover to cover. And my sister loves to clean. She loves cleaning and all. So I remember when we were kids, probably teenagers, my sister was doing some cleaning around the house, and sometimes it's even a little nervous cleaning. And my father hadn't finished the Sunday newspaper yet, and he's like, what the heck happened to the paper, the big Sunday thick paper in New York? I'm not done with it. And where is it? And she goes, oh, Dad, I was cleaning and I thought you were done with it. It's already in the recycled bin in the garage. She said, well, let's get that out of the recycle bin because I'm not done reading it and reading every aspect of it. Reading is something that has sort of gone by the wayside. We want everything to be maybe read to us, or everything sort of compressed. There's talk about the elimination of cursive in the schools too, which of course is writing script. One day we'll just sign everything with a big X or a thumbprint, but that's not really a great way to go about it, right? I mean, you really need to have all these things that you and I learned and others growing up still part of the curriculum, still part of our daily diet, especially for kids, right?
Definitely. And I love how you describe sort of those household rhythms of seeing that newspaper every day. You saw the pages turn, you saw him reading, you knew that there was something important in that text that prompted him to read it. And he was applying that information and using it to be a more informed citizen or community member, maybe in his profession, who knows. But growing up, we had those big physical symbols of print and books in a way that kids today don't necessarily have, because so much, even among people who are big readers in their homes, are reading more on their phones, and kids don't know what is in there.
Right,
So
exactly. Yes, yes, exactly. And we often say it used to be like if a kid was sent to their room for whatever reason, something they did, and go to your room. Today, the kid's like, oh, thank you. I want to go to my room because inside my room, it looks like NASA. I have everything I want in the room. I would prefer to be in my room. Where before, when we went in the room, there was a dresser, a bed, a mirror, and maybe a hamper. It's changed a
absolutely.
little
And
bit.
I think parents sometimes underestimate the degree to which the technology use that kids are immersed in affects their reading skills, the frequency, reading enjoyment, and also their writing ability.
Yes.
Someone who attended my book event in DC, a community college professor, shared a story of reading some just appalling essays from some of her students. And so she brought them into the conference and wanted to talk about their writing process and their editing process, and discovered that they had composed the papers just using voice to text on their phone. So
Yeah.
writing wasn't even part of it. They were just dictating and turning in through
Yeah.
their devices. So
I'm known to write, when I have the time, which is, I try to do it as much as I can. I tend to leave long voicemails because I'm a communicator, I'm a broadcaster. So I'll leave long voicemails where I'll try to answer the questions ahead of them, even asking them, giving them all the information they need, giving them everything to deduce so they can think about it before they call back. I'm known to leave longer texts and longer emails because I write as if I'm speaking to you when I write. My style is conversational, as if I'm actually talking to the person I'm texting or emailing. And one time I did it to a colleague in New York at one of the television stations, and they had a question, and I wrote back, and it was a very detailed text, and I reviewed the text multiple times and changed words and just made sure it was succinct and gave them everything they needed. And I still laugh about it. We laugh about it. His response to this very lengthy, well-written, succinct, concise, enthusiastic text was was an agreement to what I was saying, and his in agreement to what I was saying was the letter K, as in okay. And I'm like, wait a minute, I just wrote the Gettysburg Address, and I don't even get the O with the K. I just get the K. And we
it's a
laughed about
different
it. Yeah.
it's a different world. It's a different world. But
You
with the
know,
book, I focused on the early years because I think it's so
yes.
important to lay the foundation to support reading skills down the road. And we can't take it for granted that kids will get some of the things that we got
Yeah,
in
that's right.
school.
Right, that's the thing. We assume that, everything is just the same and nothing changes, but a lot has changed within the school systems themselves, and it's not necessarily what we maybe were taking to be a luxury as part of the way things are now. Everything is ramped up, everything is fast paced as well. I want to make mention too, some of the credentials. Your background is extraordinary. You hold Yay, I love this as somebody who studies this and has worked in it as well. You have a master's degree in journalism from Northwestern University and a bachelor's degree in social studies with honors, yay, from Harvard University. And also, you're affiliated faculty in educational policy and leadership at the College of Education, Marquette University, right there in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. That's fantastic. So you've always studied this, you've been well versed in it, and this has truly been a passion for you even when you were entering university, huh?
Yes. So I guess the issue of literacy specifically got on my radar once I was a parent. So had always been interested broadly in issues of social justice, but didn't make the connection that so many children, because I was a good student and had good experiences in schools, I didn't recognize the extent to which many children are not well served by
Yeah,
schools and are not well prepared when they enter school and then spend
yeah,
the entire 12, 13 years of education trying to play catch up and never really getting there.
yeah.
So, as a parent and reading those articles about the disparities and seeing those news reports, I thought that there was something wrong about a society that would label kids as behind from the start. And, one surprising finding was that the expectations of kids entering kindergarten have gone up as well. So, things my daughter was expected to do as a kindergartner, I wasn't expected to do until first grade. So, that's another thing for parents to keep in mind, that the expectations are heightened and we haven't necessarily given the support for kids, for all children, to reach those higher standards.
Which is really essential and so extraordinarily important, right? To have that foundation. And I like the way you've tackled birth to six. Um, let's talk about that. Maybe break it out a little bit. How does one sort of embark on this at birth? Because sometimes the parent is just so, especially if it's the very first birth, they're swept up on the whole emotion of the fact that this is the first birth, and then they're feeding and diaper changing, and they get wrapped up in all of the day-to-day mechanics of taking care of this child now, that sometimes they don't think about the reading element. How does one go about doing it as early as the birth?
So I think when you're bringing that newborn home, you really aren't given any instruction,
No, no
and
instruction
reading
manual.
and
Yes.
reading is not necessarily on your radar. But the key thing is to focus on building oral language. So talking to the baby, even though the baby is not yet able to respond to you in words or sentences, but recognizing that their coos and babbles are important communication and that they learn through those exchanges with you. You don't know the exact day that things click for a child and they know exactly what that word or idea is. So as parents, we have to sort of establish the habit of talking, and not just talking at them or narrating what we're doing, which was a bit of advice I got when my daughter was little. They said, just describe the cans and produce in the grocery store and talk about the blades of grass when you're walking down the street. But there's something really powerful, research has shown, about the exchange really making it a duet or a conversation. So giving the baby an opportunity to respond, whether with a gesture or eye gaze or babble or coo. So that's the first tip, because all of those words that you speak are words that they will one day understand and one day be able to recognize in print.
Exactly right. And that's why you also have to use your words wisely around an impressionable child, which is like a sponge. You have to make sure that the words you use and how you use them, yeah, you just have to take extra caution, because sometimes if they hear certain words that an infant or anybody really shouldn't hear, the child will hear that and assume that that's what you're supposed to say in everyday life. And then you say, where'd you get that word from? And the child may say, well, I remember you saying it when I was a kid. Well, that doesn't make it right. So you have to be extra careful about the words that you say. So the inspiration for you in writing this book, Reading for Our Lives, a literacy action plan from birth to six, really was when you had your child, huh?
Yes, I felt just an extraordinary sense of responsibility. And because I was an early reader, I didn't remember being taught to read. So I didn't have
Yeah.
any idea what specifically to do. So I used those journalism skills from Medill at Northwestern and just started asking questions. Initially, it was reading news reports, but at one point, I took a master's course in foundations of reading instruction. And then I dove into the footnotes of all the things that we read in that course. Then I started calling up the people who did the research to ask
Yes.
questions about what does the research mean for parents in everyday life? As you mentioned, when you're so mired in these details of diaper changes and feeding and
Yes.
transportation and all the basics. And that's not even getting into the pandemic.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Tommy Reed is watching us. And thank you, Tommy, for being here again and commenting, one of our lovelies. Now, he says something interesting. He says, I must say, as a Black man in my early 50s, when I grew up, the majority of teachers I had were of European descent. And unfortunately, one or two really were concerned about my education of learning to read. That's a fascinating statement as well, huh?
Yes. So teachers play an incredible role in children's reading development, either for the good or for the bad. So we have a lot of challenges in our school, particularly after the pandemic, with a lot of really skilled reading teachers retiring or just leaving the profession because of the fatigue and stress and frustrations of having to learn to teach remotely. It's really challenging to try to hold a kindergarten class over Zoom. So that prompted a lot of people to change careers or reevaluate.
Yeah.
But even prior to that, we have had teacher training challenges where teachers haven't been taught the best practices to help every child learn to read, where there really has been an emphasis on reading aloud and understanding and appreciating stories, but not as much instruction in teaching kids the nuts and bolts of making connections between sounds and letters. So, one of the things I
Yes.
do in the book is explain to parents that reading is a big, complicated undertaking for kids. And there is that powerful element of vocabulary and background knowledge and just experience in the world that supports understanding what they'll read. But then there is also the nitty gritty of being able to recognize sounds within words, being able to distinguish letters from numbers and other marks on paper, and putting all of these things together with enough automaticity that you can decode some text and understand it and move on to the next piece and keep building your knowledge as you go.
So
And parents can
incredibly
help.
parents, right? Exactly. So incredibly important. Would you say the United States right now, Maya, is in the midst of a national reading crisis?
Absolutely. And I think we have been for some time. So, those early reports that I mentioned when my daughter was a toddler, she's now 11 years old. So, these reports when she was 2 or 3 that pointed out disparities, there are more recent versions of those reports. One came out just Monday. It's called the Nation's Report Card, the National Assessment of Educational Progress. And it shows that reading scores have been terrible nationally for decades, and now they're even worse as a result of the pandemic and some of the things that have been going on more recently. So that tests fourth graders and eighth graders. But I think the thing people need to understand is that that problem will not be solved in schools alone. It
Hmm.
requires everyone understanding how reading develops and everyone supporting that in their own children, but also any children that they interact with in their life, and then also using their platforms like their shows if they're in media or their businesses if they're in the corporate world. It's really all hands on deck at this point.
I love the title of the book too, and let's talk about the development of the title. You say "Reading for Our Lives." Tell us about that, Maya.
I just really wanted the title to convey a sense of urgency about addressing this issue and doing all that we can to support young children getting on the path toward full literacy so that they can thrive in their careers and as citizens and contributors to society. I think those of us who are fluent, skilled readers take for granted that everyone gets there at some point. And what numerous reports from the US Department of Education and other credible institutions tell us is that there are millions and tens of millions of Americans who don't get there, who don't get the literacy skills that they need. So we also know that beyond education and career prospects, literacy also is associated with health outcomes. It's hard to comply with doctors' orders and take prescriptions appropriately if you can't read the instructions.
Right.
Literacy is also, low literacy is also positively associated with encounters with the criminal justice system and incarceration. So we know that reading is one of these core things in life that can impact every element of your well-being. So reading for our lives is like not just reading for fun.
Right. Rental agreements, contracts, things that are crucial in your life that you need to read and sign, different agreements. If you're not able to read it all, that can be problematic, and you can get into some tough stuff, if you sign something and you haven't read it or you're not sure what it's about.
Absolutely. And think even with our devices, which make navigating life so much easier in some respects because we can access information through videos and other formats, but we're often signing these agreements to use apps and any of these things on our phones, and we're signing away rights without fully realizing it. So some people are just busy and they've decided they're just going to scroll and check the box to consent to whatever the technology company has asked of them. But other people can't read it, can't grasp it, can't make sense of the jargon, the legalese within the documents. And that both are a problem. Choosing not to read, but as a society, having so many millions of people who can't is a major, major problem.
Exactly. You also talk about your experience with reading and, of course, your daughter, Zora. Tell us on how early literacy actually really is something that not only became important for you, but really should be important for any parent early on.
Thinking about it and working on it early is critically important because there's so much brain growth and development that happens in kids' first years. So if parents commit to and get serious about and create that habit of having those back and forth exchanges and building kids' experience with words and the world, it just pays off years down the road. One memorable study that I cite in the book used some devices that are created by the Lena Foundation in Boulder, and it's a talk pedometer. So it measures the language environment of babies and toddlers. They wear and vest on their shirts the little device, and it records. The focus is not what people are saying, to your point earlier about maybe introducing some inappropriate vocabulary. That's not the point, but it's counting the number of words that are spoken by adults, the words, coos, babbles uttered by the child, their vocalizations, but also the back and forth dynamic nature of it. And so in this longitudinal study, it found that kids who took part in the most dynamic back and forth conversational exchanges between 18 and 24 months old had much larger vocabularies, better language skills, and even higher IQs as middle schoolers. So these early things matter.
Yes, right. Again, getting it early is key. Now, social media, technology, cell phones, everything is at everybody's whim. You can, even if you tell your child, turn that off or what have you, they can go up in their room and turn on the computer, and things that perhaps we might not have been exposed to when we were children because we were still children. There was much more of an adult topic or conversation, whatever it is. I remember as a kid, we could not go into my father's wallet. We could not go into our mother's pocketbook. We couldn't call them by their first name when we were kids. There's just certain things that I think were fantastic that some have gone by the wayside, some of the traditions of things like that. But also the fact, when you think about it early on, when you talk about how technology and this immediacy with the social media and cell phones. It's a fantastic way to stay connected. It's a terrific way. There's a lot of good to it, but there's a lot of not so good to it. How do you feel about all that? The technology part?
I think it really starts with the parents. So, as parents, we have to be really aware of how we use our devices in our children's presence. So, if we're locked in on our devices and we're scrolling through Instagram or whatever the social media of choice or video game or whatever it is that a parent might do on their phone, to what extent is that distracting us from having these back and forth conversations that are so important for nurturing infants and toddlers? And to what extent does it keep us from seizing the everyday opportunities to teach our preschoolers letter names, shapes, sounds, and some of these core pre-literacy and literacy skills that will help them take off when they get to formal reading instruction in schools? So definitely kids media use is a problem, but I think before that, parents have to look in the mirror and recognize that we're modeling certain technology behaviors, and we're also buying the devices that kids are becoming addicted to.
We also hear so much about, and we referenced just a little bit of in the beginning, the learning loss that has occurred, as we were all trying to do the right thing and be healthy during the pandemic. What is the solution to that now?
I think that we have to just acknowledge that kids who were in school missed out on powerful learning opportunities and are behind. There are some studies that show kids who hadn't yet started school are behind with their language development skills because of the stressors in households prevented parents from having these nurturing back and forth exchanges. So we just have to acknowledge that baseline that the world is different. We already were getting bad results prior to the pandemic. So you have to
Yeah.
do not incremental improvements, you have to do dramatic things like really support parents and tell them what they need to do to nurture literacy in their children. And then we also have to provide better training to teachers so that they're able to meet the needs of this wide array of levels that kids are entering their classrooms. I mentioned in one event about kindergarteners coming into classrooms not knowing any letters. And we know that the number of letters you know is a predictor of reading success down the road. And I had a second grade teacher raise his hand, and he said he now has second graders in his classroom who don't know any letters, don't know how to hold a pencil, can't write their name.
Hmm.
So that second grade teachers aren't necessarily well versed in the things that kindergarten teachers teach.
Right.
But in that classroom, they have both the kids who are 2, 3, 4 years behind and kids who are ahead. And so it's unrealistic to expect them to meet all of those needs well within the confines of the school day. So another thing is being serious about tutoring and interventions and bringing other people into schools who can work one-on-one with kids to build these skills. And I think the other thing that people are hesitant to say, because you don't want to take away anything that you've been focused on in school, but I think sometimes you have to prioritize. And I think there needs to be greater recognition that reading is a foundational skill. So
Yeah.
if you really take the time and care to teach every child to read by third grade, they will get to the point where they can teach themselves other things through books. So we can't do everything. We have to really focus on the things that matter most. And the other piece is the social emotional element. We have to recognize that kids are different as a result of living through a pandemic. They have fears and anxieties and other challenges that are affecting the way they interact with one another and the way that they learn in classrooms as well.
How did you actually put this all together? How did you come up with these recommendations and the activities that you actually share in reading for our lives? What was that like, assembling all that?
So, in some ways, I'm exactly like my ideal reader in the sense that I was a curious parent who knew reading was important, wanted to have an impact. Also, similar to my audience, I hadn't been given any training in this. Like, you learn more about setting up your car seat or like all
Right,
kinds of instruction you're given,
right.
but people don't talk about brain development.
Mm,
So, I did a lot of reading of academic research, but not just reading and education. So after I took that Foundations of Reading instruction course, I had a good idea of what best practices were for teaching kids to read when they were in classroom settings. But I realized that we needed more information on what to do prior to school
Yes.
if there were already so many differences in things like the number of letters kids know and all those things. So I looked to other areas beyond education, psychology, neuroscience, all kinds of fields to get more insights into infant learning, and discovered this powerful connection between language development and literacy development down the road, and just started interviewing the people whose work I read just to check my understanding, and also to ask them, what do you think a parent could do that would have a big impact? And so the things that wound up in the book were the things that had a lot of consensus among good researchers that these were
Mm.
good things to do, and sort of high leverage things and things that were doable for parents. We're not all professionally trained teachers. We don't all want to take on that role, but every parent wants their child to thrive long term. And we already spend so many hours with them a day. If there are easy ways to incorporate literacy lessons into the day, that's great. And those are the things that are in the book.
Which are in the book as well. What are some key questions? Obviously, there's questions that the parents need to ask the child's teacher along the way as well. Maybe about their approach to an emphasis on reading in the classroom. What are some key things that the parents could and should ask the teachers along the way?
I think parents should start by asking, what are your expectations that kids, what should they know or do when they arrive? And what do you hope they'll know or be able to do when they leave? So you have a sense of like what is supposed to be accomplished within the span of the year. And people can look to state standards and the Common Core and different things to get some markers of the vocabulary or different things that are expected at different grade levels. And then ask the teacher how they go about teaching those things. And you'll want to hear definitely that there are wonderful books and great children's literature in the classroom, and that there are read alouds and those different things. But you also want to hear that there is direct, explicit, systematic phonics instruction that
Mm,
because most kids need it. Some kids will pick up reading, they'll make that connection, they'll crack the code with little direct instruction, but most kids we know need direct instruction. So you need to know that your teacher, one, knows that, and then two, has the curriculum and support and training to support that. And you should also ask them how you can support your child and how they'll assess your child's progress toward what they're hoping to achieve.
as you acknowledge in reading for our lives, even low income families and children of color suffer the most from low literacy. Tommy had his comment earlier, which we appreciate him sharing as well. Why should parents across all of America be concerned about how reading education, affects the child, no matter what
Be-
the background is?
because those statistics are averages. So it's saying on average, the
Yeah.
Black children are scoring lower. So there are some Black kids that are super readers, and then there are
Yeah.
some that are really struggling. And so those variations exist within every race, every ethnicity, every
Exactly.
socioeconomic background. So there are rich white kids who are struggling in reading as
Yes.
well. So you're as a parent, you're primarily concerned with your child and their development. But all people should be concerned about all children's reading prospects, because we're in this society together. And it's a
Right.
problem when there are tens and tens and tens of millions of people who can't get a job and take care of their families and stay out of jail and all the things that we mentioned, and get better health outcomes because they can read the instructions from the doctor and comply with the prescriptions or whatever the case may be. So they're just it's just common sense that when we're in a society, when we're in a nation, when we're in a country or a community with other people, that we should want everyone to have the ability to thrive.
Absolutely. Yeah. So beautifully said. The world spins. I say it often on this show and elsewhere, a lot smoother on its access when we are all together and we all have opportunities, because it enhances all of our lives collectively, individually, and absolutely collectively. So, speaking of the huge, reading inequities, what can we, both as a nation and as these concerned individuals, sort of do, maybe even today or when we wake up tomorrow morning, to start to facilitate change in that positive direction, Maya?
I think it helps for people to get smarter about how reading develops and what supports it at the different ages and stages. So if they read a book like this one, or if they look at the developmental milestones, if they follow some of these debates that are going on about reading instruction in schools, and just get that sort of basic understanding of how it develops, then you can be a resource for your family, for your community, people at your church, or wherever you're interacting with people. And then you can also be that voice advocating for change in school board meetings, or, when you're reading the ballot that you understand because you're a skilled, fluent reader, you're
Mm-hmm.
voting for things that support families' ability, all families' ability to access high quality reading instruction, but also to have the um, financial and health stability to be able to do the work with little kids prior to school.
When you wrote the book, did you have somebody, was there a typical reader in mind? Is the book designed for anybody specific? And what are some of the takeaways that you hope people are left with when they read Reading for Our Lives?
I think so. My initial primary audience for the book in my mind was sort of the expectant parent, because the parent that's just had the baby, your hands are full. Like you're overwhelmed and you're sleep deprived, and you have this little human who's depending on you. So you might not be able to give this book your full attention. But I think it makes a great baby shower gift, and that expectant parents, because you're in that optimistic phase and you have more time and you're kind of nesting and preparing for parenthood. I think that's a great time to read this book. And then you can dip into it. People who already have kids certainly can benefit and can dip into it and read. I think it's chapter 2 that has all of the ages and stages and book behaviors and different things. So parents can check in and feel confident that it's okay if your baby is chewing the book and smacking at it and not
Right.
sitting still. Like, those are normal developmental things. And then I also think
Exactly.
it's useful for people, grandparents. I get a lot of feedback from grandparents because they have those memories of just treasured visits to libraries and favorite books and conversation around stories. And they really want to give that to their grandkids in this environment that is so technology driven. So grandparents have been kind of a surprise, big supporters of the book. And then, of course, parents with kids 6 and under, and then parents even with older kids have said that it's beneficial for them and that some of the tips apply across age groups.
Do you see another book in the offing? Do you see a series of books coming down the pike? Are you already writing another?
I'm not already writing another one. I'm really focused on kind of getting the message of this book to a wider audience, because I'm concerned that we'll continue to get these national assessment of educational progress reports that say reading is terrible and getting worse, and that we won't look early enough. We won't go upstream far enough to really address the roots of the problem, which is in infancy, which is in how parents are talking to and relating to kids and reading books. And it's rooted in how parents are supported in teaching kids about how print works and what letters are and discerning those sounds within words. So I'm concerned if we are testing kids in school and we're trying to fix this problem in school alone, that we'll just continue to see these terrible national reading results. So it's my hope that I can sort of connect the dots and get people thinking about the foundation for reading that's laid in infancy, so that we can sort of broaden the dialogue about what we can all do to support kids on this long path that takes years to get there.
It really, really does. And of course, it takes a village, as they say, and it also takes sometimes the support. Everybody should be on the same page. The mom, the dad, the partner, the spouse, whoever, they should all be on the same page and wanting to help facilitate this, right? Not just have the one parent sort of take on the burden of making sure the child or the children can read and that they're literate, but having that supportive foundation. And I know you've had that since day one.
Uh, oh, to be young again.
Oh,
Look at those two crazy kids.
Tell us about the support that your husband, of course, who is a well-known basketball coach. Tell us about your husband a little bit and how it is really a team effort, pun
It
intended.
abs it absolutely is a team effort. So I'm kind of a sleepyhead, so the bedtime stories were never my thing. So often he was the one who was reading to our daughter at night. And so we also have division of labor. I'm the reading parent, he's the math parent. So he often read her math related books. And now she's a really skilled mathematical thinker, which I'm so
Hmm.
excited about. But it's tied back to some of those books that they read when she was really young. They read one called Bedtime Math, that was kind of a series, and there were a number of other math concept books that he read with her. So it definitely it takes all of us. Both of her grandmothers are super active in her life as well. She is currently in a book club with Shaka's
Cool.
mom. So sometimes grandparents, again, the child doesn't want to feel like you're forcing this stuff
Right.
on them. So if you can follow the things that they're interested in and engage them in books and help them find, their next best read, that is phenomenal.
There it is, folks. A literacy action plan from birth to six, reading for our lives. Our very special guest is journalist, education advocate, writer, and author of this fabulous book, Maya Payne Smart. And she is with us sharing her passion and wit and wisdom. And we hope you get the book, gang. There is the website you can go to. Now, of course, it's probably on Amazon and other places like that too, right?
It
But
is. It's available at all the major retailers.
all the major retailers, but you can also learn more about our very illustrious guest, Maya Smart, and go to her website, mayasmart.com. This was fantastic, and I wish you continued blessing and joy in your life, Maya. This really, you're doing beautiful work, and again, it's legacy building on so many different levels. I applaud you, and I know lots of others who really appreciate what you're doing applaud that you've made this your life's calling and your mission, in addition to caring for husband and child, home and hearth. You've carved out this fabulous um, wonderful road journey that you're on that you're so passionate about, and I love when people are passionate and they're well versed in it so much that they want to share that wisdom and that belief and the caring and the empathy with others as you do. So it's beautiful work, and we encourage folks to get the book and to keep following you and your extraordinary work. Thanks for joining us on the show. I hope the show met whatever expectations you had, Maya, and you enjoyed the time with me as much as I absolutely have with you.
I did. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciated this opportunity just to encourage parents and their village, their community members to nurture the next generation of readers.
Any final message about our conversation, about the show, or anything you'd like to leave as far as some wisdom for our international lovely audience that's watching live now and will also watch this in the archives on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV?
I'd just like to leave you with the idea that there are so many challenges in the world that we don't know how to fully address, but our reading challenges are clear. The research is clear about what it takes to give children effective reading instruction. There's wonderful research about what it takes for parents to nurture reading at home in the years prior to school. So we should all be encouraged that this is one of life's solvable challenges. And even for parents who themselves aren't highly literate, they have what it takes to help kids build these foundational skills. You really can have a major impact with just your voice and that conversation and those back and forth turns with kids. So you can do it. All of us can together.
You can do it. Absolutely. You can do it. And there's the website again, folks. Maya Smart joining us here from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We absolutely love that. There is the book again. You can see it on the screen. Maya, thank you very much for joining us. Blessings and joy continue to you and your family. We appreciate you being here and spending time with us. Somebody that pops on towards the latter part of the show just wanted to say hello. Mr. George Burns, the comedian, is with us. You know,
I have a copy of the book for him.
you have a copy of the book. Yes, and he was very literate when it came to the jokes. That's for sure. The comedy. He sends his love. He said you knocked it out of the park, and he thoroughly enjoyed the conversation as well. My aunt collected dolls and serious collector of serious dolls, and this is one of the serious ones. And got passed down to me through the family. So George pops on to say hello every once in a while, and he said he thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. And that's another thing. You got to laugh. You got to have levity and joy in your life, right? There's a lot of heavy stuff happening, and you got to smile and pay that forward, don't you?
Yes.
On
Thank
many
you.
levels. You're the best. Thank you, Maya. Best to you and your family. And congratulations on the book from all of us at the Jim Masters Show Live.
Thank you.
You be well. Spread the word about our show, too. We would love that. You take
Will do.
care.
Thanks.
Have a great night. Maya Payne Smart joining us here from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We want to show you that book again. Here it is. It's a fantastic book, folks. Makes a great gift. You got the holidays coming and so much more. And also, we showed you the website address. There it is. You can go to Amazon and all the major retailers as well. This was another Jim Masters Show Live exclusive, having journalist, education advocate, writer, author, reading for our lives, Maya Smart here on the show. I mentioned earlier that her husband is a prolific and renowned basketball coach. Yes, Shaka Smart is also, a great educator on so many different levels just in what he does on the court and off the court as well. You're probably familiar with his name. Yes, they are husband and wife, and they have a beautiful child together. And this was really, really cool having Maya here again from Milwaukee. The book, again, if your kids are already grown and they have flown the coop, it could still make a great gift for somebody else. Or if you're an expectant parent, this could be great. Grandparent, guardian, whatever the case may be. We're always doing what we can here at the Jim Masters Show Live Entertainment Lifestyle Variety Talk Show series to bring you a breadth and a wonderful scope and variety of guests from all backgrounds, walks of life, interests, levels of celebrity, and so much more. And Maya was absolutely spectacular. Don't you agree? Learned a lot today and sharing it with all of you. Jane in Sweden says, thanks for being here, Maya. And thanks, Jim. Our pleasure. Maureen in Arizona says, thank you for sharing your wisdom, Maya. Anne in Southern California says, another great show. Maya was an amazing guest. Absolutely, right? She had such great material to share with all of us and some great practical, useful advice. Whether you have a child or not, even as adults, we could follow and pay heed to what she has been talking about, what she has been stressing. Maureen says, fabulous conversation, Jim. Thank you. You're very welcome. Jane, thank you as well. Kathleen in New York City and everybody watching. Glad you guys enjoyed it. Toasting you tonight in our Love Fort Lauderdale. It's nice. It looks like a nice Lovity mug, right? Love Fort Lauderdale. Even says it inside. When we were on our major television shoots all across the country, one of the places, and we mentioned this on our social media, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Jim Masters TV. I welcome you to follow and like and all the rest, and tweet. Love Fort Lauderdale. So we picked this up when we were in Fort Lauderdale, Florida on one of our major multi-day television projects recently. So there you go. We toast you in our Love Fort Lauderdale, Florida mug. Sip, sip. Tasty. And hope you guys are doing well wherever you're watching around the world. Fascinating shows. Again, we do this like a television talk show series where every day is something different. Every day is something unique, special. We always learn. We always have a great time. We bring you guys in as well. The guests are really fascinating. If you look back at the hundreds of episodes we've done, the guests and the conversations that we have, which are not scripted, there's no teleprompter. They don't know in advance what I'm going to ask. And, just all the levity and the entertainment, everything that comes with our show. It's so cool, isn't it? It's just really cool. I'm bowled over too, and I host and produce the thing, and I'm bowled over. Hey, gang, I want to let you know we've got a return guest, and he's a legend, a television legend. We're really excited. He's going to be with us now. Our show tomorrow is earlier in the day, so if you miss it, you can see it in the archives. But if you want to jump in live tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Yeah, right? 10? Yeah. 11 a.m. Pacific. I'm always 11 a.m., 10 a.m. thinking about the Pacific because we don't want to miss out on our Pacific audience. So it's 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern time, which is where our show originates from, the Eastern time zone. The incomparable Burt Ward, who starred as Robin from the television series Batman, is going to be with us. He's also going to be talking about not only the historic series. He was a guest with us a while back. He's coming back on the show to talk more about, of course, Batman and Robin and everything else, but his love of animals, and he has some really special tips for us exclusively on how you can care for, take care of, and make sure your animals are safe during the holiday season. So he's got some very topical, relevant advice. Burt Ward, Robin himself, is going to be on the show, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific, tomorrow on the Jim Masters Show live. Coming up on Saturday, look who's here. Another return guest, or I should say guests, the incredible guys, the music legends from the Temptations, the Platters, the Four Tops, and more. Voices of classic soul music legends Joe Coleman, Joe Blunt, and Theo Peoples are going to stop by. Now, you may remember about 2 years ago or so, they were with us, maybe a year or so. They were here and we had so much fun. They were on the Jim Masters Show birthday episode. It was my birthday and they popped on. Well, guess what? This Saturday, get ready for some laughs, some entertainment, music, and so much more as Voices of Classic Soul return to the Jim Masters Show exclusively. That is coming up this Saturday. Looking forward to that. 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. On Sunday, we've got Canadian, he's very popular, singer, songwriter, lead singer of the rock group Shy Harry. Eric Bolton is going to be here live with great music. He's going to share lots of love and love songs and his wit and wisdom and tell us about his musical journey as he rises in the charts. Again, popular Canadian singer-songwriter Eric Bolton is going to be joining us here, and we're excited to have him here. That is coming up this Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, and lots more, many more guests coming up. Just check out our YouTube channel for the update. The YouTube channel is Jim Masters TV. The show is the Jim Masters Show. Gang, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up on our YouTube channel. Give us some lovity. Leave a comment on the YouTube channel as well. And don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just hit that red button you see there. When you subscribe to the channel, you're a part of the Jim Masters Show Live Lovity Squad. And we love that. Gang, we're going to duck out. A pleasure to have you here on the show. We don't say goodbye. We say see you later. Ciao, cheers, hasta la vista. We say moilup, slancha, sayonara, shalom. And take care, be well. Take care of one another. Be good to one another. And don't forget to be good to yourself and love yourself as well. A couple comments coming in. Jane says, great. I thank you very much for that. And Kathleen says, thanks, Jim. Have a great night. I'm always happy when I can be here. We're always happy when you're here as well. And we'll be seeing you real soon, Kathleen. And I look forward to that. I look forward to that. Coming up, I look forward to spending time with all of you as well, whether you're a brand new viewer or you've been watching our show since day one, or you've just joined us in the last month or so, week, day, months ago, a couple of years ago. We welcome you. Thanks for making us a part of your life. We're a part of your life. You're a part of our life. And that means a great deal. We're not just a show where there's talking heads and we tell us about the book, the movie, the CD, and that's it. We like to engage. This is a talk show series, not just like a podcast, but an entertainment lifestyle variety talk show series where we bring you in. And we love that. And we like to toast you and we celebrate you as well. So spread the word. Keep telling everybody about our show. That helps us grow, helps us expand. And again, if you'd like to support what we do, you can always do super chat, super emoji, super stickers. That's in the live chat room when the shows are live. But if you ever miss the opportunity, you can do it when the show is not on. There is there's a little heart icon that's on all of the episodes of the YouTube channel. And that heart icon is a super thanks. And many of you have done that. We thank you very much. When you click on super thanks, you can help support everything that goes on here. a big financial expense. Yes, but also just all the content creation and the hours. We're talking almost 900 shows in just 2.5 years, which is extraordinary, but we love doing it. Gang, you're the best. Tight hugs from Maureen in Arizona to you as well, to Jim and Dear Lovities. Eat and rest. We already ate, so we're going to rest now. Busy day tomorrow. Don't forget Robin from Batman and Robin. Burt Ward is with us tomorrow. Early show, 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. Don't forget, if you miss anything, we archive all the shows here on our YouTube channel, Jim Masters TV, for all of you. Take care and be well, gang. We love you all. Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Jim Masters Show. See you on the next one. I'll be right here waiting for you. Take care and be well. Don't forget, if you're watching this live, we'll see you on the next one. If you're watching this Memorex, you're watching this in the archives, stay right here. Binge watch another episode coming up for you right now. Till then, for all of us, be well. Take care and cheers.